Round one. Fight.
Heroes never die.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite store on the Citadel.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Power, sex, power. They both come down to one thing.
The Hungry Gamers.
Hello, 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 and welcome everyone to the 308th episode of the Hungry Gamers podcast. We are powered by ATEBIT.net and those sexy legends over at Audio Technica. Head on over to audiotechnica.com ASAP to upgrade your audio game. Today, I'm your extremely humble host, Brendan White. You can find me just about everywhere at Brendan8bit. And joining me today, as is tradition, my podcast, Right I Die, the penny to my iron. You can find her on them socials at Miss Ali Hart. Miss Ali Hart, how the bloody hell are you?
Doing good on this Friday/Saturday, I guess, for you guys.
That's it. Welcome to the past and the future at the same time, listeners, because we're straddling time zones, as is tradition. I got a full disclosure. Saying the name Iron makes me feel gross. It should be Ian, but, Mythic Quest and the pronunciation of Iron, Rob McElhenney's character in that.
Oh, I see.
Makes me feel like a bit heebie-jeebie-esque, but that's just how they do it in the Americas, apparently.
They do a lot of things interesting over here, I could tell you.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true indeed. But we're back for the 308th time for the THG main line show. We got a smattering of news to talk about. Not a ton. It was a little bit barren out in the streets this week, but we found a few things worth talking about. We got some games to talk about, though. Some new games that we haven't discussed on the potty. So maybe we should start things off there, because I am so excited to hear about a game you've been playing, because I've missed it so far this week because I've been bogged up with a couple of other big gems myself. But tell me all about Pentiment, please and thank you.
Yeah, so I actually took the chance to play Pentiment because it was on Game Pass and it's available on Game Pass PC. So once again, there was like low risk to trying out the game, and so far it's been really rewarding. It is such a sweet little game and just so unique and different. It is very narrative focused. It does feel like more of like a point and click adventure with more dialogue options than most other things that you usually associate with a point and click. But I mean, I just adore the art style, the old books and like the like manuscripts, like the wood cutout kind of style from I think it was like early modern medieval time, like
maybe like the 13th century or something like that, maybe.
I don't know. I wouldn't be the best.
Somewhere.
I wouldn't be the historian to tell you. But yeah, it's been great. Like you play as a character called Andreas, and he is a traveling artist, and he's residing in this town, and he is helping like an abbey do their like copying of manuscripts. And because back in the day, like you had to like hand copy everything, so it was quite a profession to be able to replicate stuff. And what's great is as this character, you actually do have some kind of customizational options where you get to kind of choose like your character's background. There's a lot of interesting options, and these options that you choose usually gives you dialogue options later on in the game. I so far haven't felt like too much of an advantage or disadvantage. There's been like little moments where I'm like, oh, if I chose that, maybe I would have been able to answer that, but I haven't seen it be a hindrance to the overall story so far. But I, maybe further along. But it's very sweet. It's very cute. I guess cute actually isn't the term to use, but it's just, I guess it's just so unique and lovely. And I'm loving the interactions that I'm having with these villagers. Overall, your character is just going through the village, helping people or not. And there's just like weird superstitions, there's crime, there's mystery and stuff to be solved. So, so far I'm really, really enjoying it. And I'm actually really looking forward to diving into it more, because I feel like there's something more happening behind the scenes. And I've read only briefly about like possible different endings, which I'm always about. I love the possibility of getting a different experience than someone else in a game. So I understand that some people, this might not be a game for them. I think it's probably a little bit more niche than most games. But I was pretty happy to see the great reviews it's been getting through outlets.
I've seen a lot of 10s and things like that doing the rounds.
We're seeing 10s.
It's popping off from a review score perspective.
I really appreciate it, especially when making a game and going out of the basic square of like, especially with like obviously not full AAA. You wouldn't classify it as AAA even though it's through Obsidian, right? Like it's still classified as no, is it? Is it
maybe like AA? You'd classify it as
go down the batteries.
Not quite on the the God of War Ragnarok tier if we're just going from a other game that's doing the charts around at the moment. But it's a big studio behind it, but it's not at that same level, and that's not disrespecting what Obsidian have done because it's reviewing well. Like it's 88 on Metacritic for PC, 86 for Xbox, so people will be loving it. And the world's going mad for Pentiment, and I can't wait to give it a spin because the writing style and, like you said, the replayability with the different endings that can come your way feels very appealing and very exciting. Yeah,
and just like the opportunities and the experience that you can go through, and essentially the character that you can kind of mold them, like your main character Andreas into. Like I've already seen a few other people kind of like play it at the early stages of the game, so I didn't get it spoiled for me. And like one of the background options is like, are you a craftsman? Are you a roughhouser? Like, and like if you're into like roughhousing, then you're quite sassy and you have these options to kind of like bite back at people or get a bit more snarky. And I chose a craftsman's and a logician, so more mathematical. So I've already had experiences where that has been beneficial. I chose that my character spent time in Italy, so there's actually been a lot of references to either Italian artists or even the language, and my character's been able to kind of jump in and kind of add that to the conversation, which I'm assuming other people who didn't choose that wouldn't have that option. So I can't wait to see what my experiences is, check in with other people and how like their choices and how that affected the game, and and the overall like maybe jumping back in again and just choosing a different option, seeing how I go with it. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to sort of diving in on this week. I've managed to sort of put two titles to bed that I've been working on very diligently this week, just so I can then shift on to Pentiment and then onto Pokemon as well, because that's another big gem that dropped in the last couple of days that's worth some time. But yeah, Pentiment is everything I think I'd hoped for, and even then I didn't really understand what I was hoping for, if that makes sense. Like it got announced, and I remember we talked about it on the back of the Xbox and Bethesda showcase, and we're like, this looks really cool, this is one to watch. And then the fact that it's come out within a 6-month time period of it being announced, and it's getting really well reviewed and everyone seems to be loving it, and I like the branching story and the replayability with the multiple endings depending on how you handle or don't handle certain situations. I love that. And the art style, like you said, that sort of like cardboard cutout, Elizabethan throwbacky vibe that it's got is just like, I'm all about it. So I can't wait to dive in and see what my run through with Andreas is going to be like. So 16th century is what we were looking for there, apparently. A few hundred years out there. Yeah, so 16th century. Bavaria, if anyone also wants that little addition. But yeah, I think for anyone that maybe have an interest in like history and the arts and such, I think that even if you might have an interest in linking with how religion and how that had an effect in in history and art at that time as well, as that can be a little bit prominent in the story as well. So, yeah, I just think, and then obviously, as we always preach, it's Game Pass. So if you've already got Game Pass, you got nothing to lose just to try it out and see if you like it.
Great thing, Game Pass for not only console but PC as well.
Yeah.
So depending on preference of how you want to navigate this world, you got those options. Just reading some of the hit points, like the game initially started and getting worked on by just a team of 2. So it started with just 2 people building this game out, and then it expanded over to up to 13 people. But yeah, I cannot wait to give this a crack because yeah, the reviews and just the chatter on Twitter, which is, you know, a whole nother topic. You know, it might be the last time we reference Twitter on the podcast from a current standpoint, but everybody that I follow on Twitter that's played Pentiment has been gushing about it. So, yeah, I can't wait to dive on into that one because it looks and sounds, and from what you're telling me, it even feels good to play, even though it's simplistic in the point and click and the narrative navigation, but I love a big juicy story. So, let's go.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh, I have been a busy bee this week. I'm officially unemployed at the moment until I start my new job next week. So I got some extra time, which I'm feeling very good about because it allowed me to put 2 games to bed. One that I've been chipping away on, and I'll start with Star Ocean, the Divine Force, to begin with. And Star Ocean, it's a franchise that like I'm pretty familiar with, but I'm not like a savant like this. This franchise has been around for over 2 decades. It's been around for a good long time. It's one of the stalwarts of the JRPG universe, and there's been some great releases. The Last Hope's still probably my favorite Star Ocean game I've played, and that really sort of stuck me into that JRPG fandom way back when, playing it on the Xbox 360. And there's been some releases after that which were a little uneven, to put it lightly, but yeah, with the Divine Force, it feels like a really good return to form. Like the game itself and Star Ocean and sort of how it works. You know, Star Ocean sort of blends science fiction with fantasy is the easiest way to combine it, where you've got these characters and they're traversing planets and solar systems and going to different worlds and meeting all kinds of crazy anime-inspired characters and creatures and all that stuff that sort of, you know, tickles the old pickle. And the Divine Force is definitely more of that. The cool thing with the game is when it starts up, you're straight away given the choice between 2 primary protagonists to play. So you've got the option to play as Raymond Lawrence or Letitia Aurelius. Raymond Lawrence is like the easiest way to sort of just to split these characters. Raymond is like this mullet-wearing science fiction space cowboy type of dude, and then Letitia Aurelius is more leaning into the fantasy. So you've got Raymond, who's the science fiction piece, and then Letitia is the traditional fantasy spellcaster wielding swords. And from there, the game plays out as you would be familiar with the JRPG tropes and the stakes and the drama. You know, the world and the worlds are, you know, at play here, where there's big bads trying to do bad things and overthrow governments and oppress races and all this type of stuff. But you've just got to try and keep humanity safe across the stars, so to speak. But it's super cute. The graphics are really nice. The environments themselves, going around certain hubs or certain planets, like they've got a real sense of scale. Like the worlds are massive. The open plain areas where you started just running around, getting from point A to point B and fighting enemies, it's really pretty. The enemies themselves, there's a diverse cast of creatures and characters to fight. So the diversity in the worlds kept things fresh. I think the game took me maybe 40 hours over the last couple of weeks to sort of chip through and roll credits on. The story, really strong, gets a little sort of thin at the end, where by the end of it I'm just like, I'm looking forward to the credits being rolled. But overall the experience was good up until that point. But the game feels good. The great thing with Star Ocean and the last few entries is they've pivoted away from turn-based combat to real-time combat. And the good thing is you can jump in and out of certain characters in your party. So you can start chaining abilities together and really popping off on the screen, and the visual spectacle of, you know, hit counters and combos going is pretty cool. But something else that they've brought into the Divine Force compared to Integrity and Faithlessness, which was the most recent entry in Star Ocean, is they've got this thing called the Duma, like a D.U.M.A. I can't remember what Duma stands for off the top of my head, but it's like this science fiction-y backpack thing that gives you the ability to dash, float, jump around, and navigate the air really swiftly. So you can sort of fly around the battlefield with this Duma character attached to yourself, doing all kinds of chain combos with it on the back. So it's like elevates the game, gives you a way to traverse the landscape in and out of combat too. So you can use it to sort of get to higher areas that you can't jump to or climb to. So you can sort of zip around like the map using this thing as a traversal item. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of cool because it tweaks the battlefields and just the play style in itself. You can use it in an attack or a defensive perspective. So you can use it to add shield and protect your allies, or you can add to buff yourself and your allies as well during combat. So that's a nice new wrinkle for Star Ocean, and it keeps things a little bit fresh, a little bit interesting. It doesn't keep reinventing the wheel from the combat in the previous games. But yeah, for a series that's been around for a long time, and this is the 6th entry now in the Star Ocean world, it still feels new. It still feels exciting. There is a few things, like I said, where the story does drag a little at the end, but overall, I really, really enjoyed it. The characters are cute as hell. They've gone away from a lot of the generic anime tropes, you could say, where, there's less weird sexual moments, and you know how in RPGs and anime in general, they can't but help themselves shoehorn in some weird, awkward sexual things. There's not really much of that going on in here. The story's a little bit more grounded and a little bit more respectful of the female characters. There's no weird like shower scenes going on and all these other types of stuff that's happened in other entries into the universe. But super cute. The characters are great. They've got sort of like the franchise. They've got like a porcelain doll type aesthetic to them as far as how the facial animations and skin looks. They've got a bit more of a shine to the characters, I guess you could say, but they are pretty impressive, and Raymond Lawrence has one hell of a mullet. It's nice to see like this space cowboy with a big juicy golden mullet roaming around doing his thing. And the good thing with the two different characters is it gives you some replayability there, because certain parts of the game they'll branch off and do their own things, so you won't really know what they've been up to and vice versa. So you'll come back and get snippets of conversation through other NPCs and characters, but not get the full picture. So there is some incentive to potentially go back and play as Raymond or Letitia, depending on which is your first playthrough was. But yeah, the combat's super fun, super frantic. The characters are really charming. The soundtrack done, Motori Sakuraba, who done the soundtrack and the score, awesome. It goes from like crazy synth to crunchy rock to high fantasy to this, that, the other. So the soundtrack really, really goes hand in glove with the game itself, and it like the high points are elevated, the low stressful and more somber points are also emphasized with sort of that scoring, which is really great. There is a skill tree that ties into the game, but it kind of devalues the leveling system in a way. It's a little bit janky, and it's a bit messy to navigate. But there is a skill tree system there where you can level your character and build them out the way you like, which is good. But it just becomes this big blur, and you just do it all up anyway. The way the game hands out XP, you end up pretty much just maximizing everything, so you don't have to sort of pick and choose. I'm going to be a ranged character, I'm going to be a melee character. It's like, no, I'll just do everything because the XP is plentiful. But no, it is fine. I really enjoyed it. Like, as I said, 40-ish hours to roll credits. If you're thirsting for a big beefy JRPG, or if you're maybe a fan of Star Ocean, you fell off in the last few entries and want to come back, this is well worth your time. It doesn't really connect to any of the previous other Star Ocean games as far as a pure narrative perspective, so you don't have to have played the previous 5 to jump into this one. You can jump into this with fresh eyes and get a sense of what's going on and feel good playing it. So, Star Ocean, The Divine Force, done by Triforce. Really, really enjoying it. Playing on the PlayStation 5, as I said, with, one of my favorite JRPGs I've played in many a year. And it's nice to see Star Ocean return to form. Miss Hart, you going to play some Star Ocean one day?
I'm not really into JRPGs, unfortunately. But, they're always pretty to look at. So I might have to check out a stream or two to see what's going down.
It is very pretty. And, that addition of that, just that Duma science fiction-y robot companion accompaniment thing that just changes the way battles play out is really cool. Just that on its own, I was like, "Ooh, this is interesting. This is a nice little wrinkle that I wasn't planning on." But yeah, I definitely feel, from my personal perspective, Star Ocean: The Divine Force is 8-bit approved and well worth your time if you are a JRPG fan or a Star Ocean fan, or just looking for a nice, juicy, beefy game with a big flowing narrative. Give it a peek.
Yeah.
The other game that I got to play, rolled credits on this in the early hours of this morning to try and get it finished. But I managed to get The Devil in Me completed overnight. The 4th entry into the Dark Pictures anthology done by Supermassive Games. Been playing this on the Xbox Series X. And I can see you're sort of waiting there with bated breath to throw a verdict your way. And Miss Hart, sadly, the verdict is that it's not the best. Yeah, it's we've been talking about this game and hoping that it could be the greatest, or the jewel of this first season of the Dark Pictures anthology. Yeah, and like House of Ashes, we've both spoken pretty positive about that now experience with the House of Ashes earlier this year. And then the concept with The Devil in Me. So the cool thing with The Devil in Me, it's actually based around a true story. So Henry Howard Holmes, or H.H. Holmes, depending on what you might or might not know him as, he's actually, debated as once one of the first serial killers in modern history. He was roaming around in the 1800s, and he's confessed to 27-ish murders, give or take. And what sort of made the law around H.H. Holmes very unique and topical was he built this thing called the Murder Castle, where there was a whole heap of various rooms and traps and things where he was allegedly killing all these people over his 34 years of living, where there was a whole heap of atrocities that took place. So they've taken some real beats about H.H. Holmes in The Devil in Me, where you play the role of this sort of budding small-time film crew. It almost feels like they're on a crew that makes stuff for the Sci-Fi Channel or something like that. So you're in this little D-grade crew of 5, and you get this random call, and you're going to this homestead where they've actually replicated the murder castle. Yeah. And so you're going there to try and get some great footage to hopefully save your show and maybe elevate you up in the D-grade film crew celebrity era and get your show seen by more people. And so the concept is great, and the story really drew me in. I love that there's some realness that they're playing off here and some history. Obviously they sort of fabricate things a little bit to dramatize the game a little bit more, but the game, those 5 characters that you're controlling throughout your 6 to 7 hours worth of game time, I couldn't give a rat's ass about any of them, to be honest. And I think that's the hardest part with this genre that Supermassive have really perfected. The Quarry, phenomenal. Yeah. You feel things for all of those characters, good, bad, or otherwise. Sure. Where these 5 characters, I could not care. And that's what made it hard. Working my way through, and I'm like, oh my God, the stakes are high. You can die at any second for the most part in these games. But that didn't really faze me too much, if that's the right thing to say. I don't know if that makes me sound shitty, but just they didn't flesh out the characters enough in a way for me to feel strongly one way or another, to genuinely fear or have concerns for their life.
That's strange too, because I think with a lot of these games, they have usually taken the time to kind of at least get to know these characters, watch them develop, so then you can be swayed by those life or death decisions or choices that you have to make. So it's strange that this time around you just didn't feel any kind of connection to any character. So I guess that made choices easier.
Yeah, it certainly lessened the stakes with the choices.
Just
they try and give some backstory to some of the characters, but they're either just naturally unlikable. They leant into some of the tropes where it's the the old 40-something failed English director that's a bit of a prick, and then there's the lead on camera named Kate, who she's, you know, they play her off as, oh, she's just the bitchy wannabe starlet and all that, and so they lean into those tropes, but not to the way where there's maybe like they sort of have a little bit of an what's the word I'm thinking of, like they don't evolve from that. They don't become more than just the trope. It always was just that.
Yeah.
And then you combine that, like the game, there was a lot of constant minor bugs where there was, you know, textures that were popping in, popping out. Combining that with that wooden animation in these games, like not only do they move around and steer like they're a big boat, but like in these really emotional scenes where they're meant to be showing all these various layers of emotion on their faces, it's just they've got those crazy high detailed eyes that just look at you like a doll, and then the rest of their face is like, oh my god, something's gonna get us. And their teeth, yeah, they're still freaky.
Yeah.
Have not nailed the teeth. It's just they've just scanned in a couple of packets of juicy fruit and just rammed them in their chompers. And yeah, so we've got that going on, combining the movements with these like conflicting artifacts on the screen where you've got sort of foreground and background artifacts sort of clashing and having this weird, almost like you're wearing a VR headset, you know, when you can look through and almost feels like you're looking through like a mesh screen door.
Yeah.
Some of the edging around some of the characters, or like the hair, or extreme contrast of light and dark, you get this weird artifacting going on, and it's a bit annoying, but yeah, it sucks because this game had so much promise, so much potential, and it just didn't meet that in any way. Like, there's some cool new changes. There's like an inventory system that they've included in the game where there's different ways to interact with certain elements in the world, and each one of the 5 characters had unique items in their inventory. Like Charlie, the English director / producer, he's got like a business card that he can use to, you know, Jimmy locks open, and then
just a hand out to ghosts.
Yeah. Hey, and
I can make
they
you
do
a
lean
star.
into it. They almost like tried to play off the American Psycho business card discussion there, where he's talking about embossing and foil and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't go down the path of Christian Bale's journey as Patrick Bateman, that's for sure. But yeah, that's all I thought when they were talking about the business cards. That's all I thought about. But then you've got like Erin, who's sort of the audio producer. She's got like a little shotgun microphone that you use around, and you're starting to hear, you know, like tortured moans and freaky stuff in the world and the environment, and you're trying to sort of track down people or victims. So there's some cool new wrinkles where they've got this inventory system in there, which like, I'm like, this is cool. Like, play more onto this. But a lot of it ultimately didn't advance the story or add anything cool to the game itself. It was just another thing to take time. Like, it would have been 6 to 7 hours, maybe a little bit more than 7, I don't know. But even though that's not a huge runtime, it still felt like it was probably a couple hours too long, because there's just parts where it's like, go explore this random part, and because you move so slowly and so clumsily, it just sort of drags it out a little bit more. But I like that they're weaving in true story stuff. The murder castle thing is super intriguing, and weaving that in with, you know, finding cassette tapes and the premonitions and all that kind of stuff that you're familiar with this Supermassive type of game is really cool, and the replayability will be fun. I think maybe playing it with someone else might make the experience a lot better, but me soloing it, I'm just like, yeah, okay, I'm happy, I'm finished, I'm able to talk about it today. But it didn't like ascend to the heights that I think you and I were hoping this was going to be. Like, they're like, oh, that's a serial killer one, and they're moving away from, you know, superstition and all this kind of stuff, and it's more so just grounded reality with fucked up people, and it doesn't really sort of hit those highs that we were hoping it was going to.
That is such a shame. Yeah, we definitely, I guess we did kind of also build ourselves up, and it didn't help, I guess, that we had such a good experience with the quarry. So it was kind of like, we're like, oh, we're on the up, but unfortunately.
Yeah, it sort of feels like the quarry was made by the senior team at Supermassive, and maybe like the Dark Pictures anthology. And if I'm completely wrong, or if that's offensive, I apologize, but it sort of feels like we've got the finished product as far as the quarry, you know, that's the benchmark.
Yeah.
And then this is sort of the prototyping almost that goes into the quarry, and they're like, oh, you know, there's some stuff on the cutting room floor, let's turn that into a game. So it feels like, yeah, one is like intermittent, or not even intermittently, one is like very, very much more polished and more finished compared to the other, and that makes me sad a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, right now we can safely say that if it's not a part of the anthology, there's a really good chance of it being good, because The Quarry wasn't, and I don't think they classify Until Dawn as being a part of it either, right?
No.
So those were the two good ones, and every other one has been attached to the anthology, I think.
Apart from like the VR ones, like obviously Rush of Blood, it's set in that Until Dawn universe. That was fun. And then the
one where you're in the hospital?
Inpatient.
Yeah.
First half of that, amazing. Second half, sucked. But sadly, The Devil in Me missed the mark for me personally. I had such high hopes for it, and the concept sounds great, and navigating this world, and there's moments where I'm like, yes, keep ascending, and then it just falls on its face, and it sucks. So House of Ashes is my favorite in this first season of the Dark Pictures anthology. It's $60 Australian, I think, for The Devil in Me. So like it's you know, it's a sizable amount of money. Like it's not full price. It's, you know, not $120 Ragnarok. So half of the money for half of the experience is justified, maybe, if you're a big fan of Supermassive and this sort of genre of games. But you just go in with, manage your expectations. If you're yet to play The Devil in Me and you're very excited for it, go in lukewarm and maybe you'll have a great time. But sadly, I did not have a great time.
Shame. But who knows? Maybe they'll learn more about the successes of The Quarry and the differences in those games. Like why did this one succeed and why are these ones like maybe not reaching that mark? Hopefully they kind of evaluate that a little more and see if they can start hitting those marks again.
I hope so. Like, but you nailed it. Like the mainline games, The Quarry, the Until Dawns and things, phenomenal, top tier, some of the best games you'll play. And then the Dark Pictures anthology, a little uneven. So hopefully season 2, and we'll talk more about that very shortly, hopefully season 2 can maybe right some of those wrongs and ascend this IP a little bit further up, because The Devil in Me, so much potential, but it just crumbled under that weight of that pressure, I think. So that's a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
But something that didn't crumble under the weight, I went and watched Black Panther: Wakanda Forever on the weekend.
You did.
Holy guacamole, is that movie fantastic. I was feeling all the things. It was beautifully shot, fantastically acted. The emotional weight of Chadwick Boseman's untimely passing was really, really, really well handled, very respectfully done. Reading some of the sort of the press tour off the back of that with the start, like the production team or the cast, and how heavy it was to record this movie. It's a testament to everyone involved, because you can see the emotions they're showing on screen. A lot of it didn't feel like it was acting. Like, I think genuinely being on that set to try and make that movie would be so difficult, but they handled it well. It's one of the prettiest movies you'll see in a long while. Like, Ryan Coogler just knows what's up behind a camera and makes very pretty films. Like, it goes over 2 hours, but it doesn't feel very long. It's got a good pace. Introducing of Namor was really, really well handled. I like how they've sort of changed a little bit of his origin story from the comics and things to weave it into this universe. It's done really, really well. I'm excited for more potential stuff in this Black Panther universe. It's really, really great. And yeah, just the contrast between, future, you see Wakanda, and it's this weird juxtaposition of like crazy science fiction, future tech mixed with African culture, and sort of seeing those worlds collide and mesh on the screen. It's very unique in that way. And my God, it is a visual and audible feast. Like the soundtrack and the respect to sort of that African heritage and the cultures And just like the various tribes that they sort of bring in and different sort of people from all walks of life, it is really, really, really well done. And yeah, it's just like a feast for the senses. So I'm really, really happy with that movie. Yeah, made me feel some things, got me a little bit teary in a few moments, and you know, I'm all about it. So Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, definitely 8-bit approved from my side.
Yeah,
well recommended.
I'm not too sure when I'm going to be able to watch this one. First of all, the runtime is daunting. Second of all, there's a lot of stuff that's been spoiled, and got spoiled very quickly.
Oh,
yeah.
that sucks.
And you know what? It wasn't even like just random people online. It was like a media outlet that like put it in like one of their posts as like a subtext kind of thing, like, or as in
sons of bitches.
So yeah, I know some stuff, unfortunately. So yeah, but like I always say that these are the kind of movies that I would go to see at the cinema, like the big spectacle, like the special effects, the high quality CG and moments. So that's why I would go to the cinema to see something like this. So Thanksgiving week is coming up, so we've got some time off, so maybe we will go to see it maybe within that time. Go for a morning session and just down some coffee.
I hope so. I went and checked it out in the morning, and morning movies is the best. Not
I'm
only because the
starting to
popcorn is cooked fresh, but also the crowd's a little less.
We go to this place. It's obviously a little bit more fancy, where there's only so many seats in the cinema, and you got a little button to press. But we go to this place, and now that we go in the morning, we get like we get the little French press, and they give you your own little French press little canister, so you can keep pouring through the movie. And then they also do these like churro donuts. And they're like warm and stuff, and so it's like you could just order that, and then if you want another one, you can order another one.
That sounds great.
It's pretty good, and until some asshole decides to order some weird like kebab on a stick thing at God knows what hour, and so you're trying to enjoy that cozy donut and coffee feel while someone over there is having a teriyaki style kebab on a stick. So kind of throws you through a loop, but.
God. Churros are so good with that dulce de leche dipping sauce.
Dulce de leche. Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious me! But yeah, check out Wakanda Forever if you're looking to get out and get to the cinemas. It's worth the cost of admission, that's for sure. And yeah, it is. I think it's over 2.5 hours. Like it is a chunky movie.
Two. I think you're right. Yeah, 2.5 or 2:40. So
yeah, but it's got a good runtime, and it's funny watching it. Like I couldn't help but think of, because there is some, you know, and you see it in the trailers, there's scenes in the ocean, there's aqua-based scenes, right? And so while I was watching it, I was thinking not only Aquaman, but I was also thinking of Avatar, as far as just these big sea spectacles, not as in like it's hitting the same narrative beats or anything. Yeah. Because they had that Avatar, was it The Way of the Water or whatever the Christ the new one's called? That was the last trailer before the movie started. And so I had Avatar fresh in my mind. I'm like, this does Avatar better than Avatar does Avatar. And it does sea-based stuff better than Aquaman does at times too. So it's kind of very, very impressive. The underwater stuff and just the CG in those oceanic-based scenes. Mwah. Stunning. So yeah, it's done a ton of money at the box office. Very curious to see what they do with this character in this world moving forward with Marvel, because Letitia Wright has said some controversial things and churred up a bit of a storm on the back of COVID and anti-vax and all that. So very, very interesting to see what's going to happen with her moving forward. Is she going to stay part of this universe, or has she sort of maybe blacklisted herself with some of the media controversies that have surrounded her on the back of COVID? But yeah, Wakanda Forever, really, really good. Also, at time of recording, I think the 3rd episode might have just dropped, but the first 2 episodes of season 3 of Mythic Quest are out on Apple Plus.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've missed that show so much. Like it came out of nowhere. Like we've been shocked that it's here now and season 3 is upon us.
Yeah.
But it's so great to be back with those characters and that world and that story. And I was just like consuming it by the bucketful. Like it is so good.
Yeah. I I completely forgot that it's out, and like I said, me and my husband are just currently just like downing every episode of like Rick and Morty at the moment, but there's so many things that we have to start, and I think we're just a little bit hesitant. And then Yellowstone has started as well, so now I got to battle my husband for the TV screen for that. So, but I mean, Mythic Quest is good, and it doesn't take, episodes aren't long, so I think that's always a win with us.
That's it. So at time of recording now, listeners, there should be 3 episodes available on Apple Plus. So get that sorted out as soon as you can, because it is fantastic and it just does video gaming fans and anyone that works in the game industry justice. And it's very funny and heartfelt and all the good things accompanying that world. Like, it's so well done.
Yeah.
And something else that is really well done is our new website, videogamesandculture.com. And if you head on over to videogamesandculture.com/awards, get those votes in for the biddies. They are our community-driven awards that we are doing here annually at the Hungry Gamers /8bit. And those awards are entirely decided by you. We do not have a vote. We do not have a stake in what determines the winners of the biddies. So get your voices and your votes heard /seen over at videogamesandculture.com/awards. You've got a couple more weeks to get those nominations in. And also get you in the draw to win a ton of swag, not only from our friends at Audio Technica, but also Spreadshirt, and also some goodies from 8bit / The Hungry Gamers directly as well. Obviously, you can support us monetarily over at Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/weare8bit, or check out our merch store at shop8bit.net, where we've got our new fantastic Arcade Runners shirt available, highlighting the human hand grenade known as Rebecca doing her thing in the game arcade there. So shop8bit.net. But Miss Hart, I've got a brand new segment I want to bring out periodically here. And I call this Shoot from the Hip. It's something that I've pulled across from Hoop Dreams, the fabled NBA podcast I was doing with Jono and Tilby. So the way this works is every week, Jono and the community can send in questions to Jono directly. You can find him at Jono himself on the socials, and he's going to turn this into an audio bite, and he's going to send it to me, and I'm going to play it through. So I don't know what the question is either. So we're both shooting from the hip. We don't have any time to prepare.
Oh, no.
They're going to be gaming, pop culture related questions, and they're just going to throw it at us, and we're just going to throw something back. So let's pull out the first one. So I don't know what this is going to encompass, but here we go. In 1, 2, 3.
These days we get a lot of remakes of classic games and even some only just slightly outdated masterpieces. What's your pick for a bad game or mediocre offering that deserves another chance via a modern remake? My vote would go to pretty much any Star Wars game that isn't Jedi Fallen Order or Knights of the Old Republic. I'm looking at Force Unleashed, I'm looking at Dark Forces. There's a whole generation or two of Star Wars games that I didn't even bother with. So let's see some of those again with a bit of love and care.
All right, Miss Hart. So Jono there, shooting from the hip, wants to know what game we would like remade that maybe upon release was a little bit janky, a little bit subpar, a little bit lacking. So it's a big question to lead things off here with Shoot from the Hip. It's we don't do anything by halves here. That's a serious question to start things off.
Yeah.
Miss Hart, where are you going with your Shoot from the Hip for a game you want to see remade that maybe wasn't the best at release?
I mean, to be fair, Jono kind of did a very broad stroke of just a lot of Star Wars games. And I agree with him with Galactic Battlegrounds, which was a real-time strategy builder kind of game. That it was a Star Wars. It was all Star Wars characters. I think I know 4 or 5 people that played it.
I'm not one of those 4 or 5 either.
I loved it. Galactic Battlegrounds. It was, so for anyone for reference, it was like your StarCraft, your Age of Empires, like that kind of style game, but it was all Star Wars characters and all like different colonies and such like that in the Star Wars universe. And it was great. It came out around the time of, I think, around like Phantom Menace and that time piece. So, but I have to agree with Jono on that aspect with that particular game.
Mm-hmm. It's tough to try and just narrow it down to just one, right?
I mean, it is. And then it's also like thinking about like, was it received bad or just did people not know about it? Is that the angle? Like, I am a lover of like of rhythm games, so it's already I'm cutting off like a good percentage of gamers out there, but I've been so desperate for Buster Groove, and like I don't think rhythm games get that much love anymore. Even if we did take Buster Groove and brought it back at this time frame, will it succeed? Probably not. But let's give it another go. Why not? I would just love to have that experience with these larger life characters, and quite possibly even bring it into the VR space with these wonderful, extravagant stages and just being surrounded by these larger than life characters with these extremely awesome tracks. That would have to be probably one of my answers. Something I'm pretty passionate about.
That's fair. You are the resident rhythm queen here on THG and 8-bit and just games media en masse. You're known as that in my eyes. This is tough because like, how far back do you want to go? Like
Exactly.
Going back to the SNES era and stuff. There's games I could think of. The original Jurassic Park game on there, I'd be thirsting for a new one of that because it mixed moments in the game where you had sort of like this isometric top down as Alan Grant, and then you go into other parts where you go into certain areas and it goes first person with the night vision goggles. So there was some freaky moments there. But the game I'm going to say I'd like to see remade is the Order 1886. So it's a game that came out on the PlayStation 4 in February of 2015. So it's not massively old, 7 years. That's a good period of time.
Oh,
but
Lord.
The game had so much potential, and it's stunning to look at. Like you're set in this like alternate steampunk London in 1886,
Sure.
and you're part of this group, and you're keeping the world safe from vampires and werewolves and all these other hell beasts, as well as going against like this rogue arm of the government. And the world itself was really cool, but the game ends so abruptly, and it's a little bit of a mess. There's some quick time events that are neither here nor there, but the premise and the potential of this game was huge, and it was fine when it came out. But the fact that it was so short really, really irked me. Still to this day, like I'd love to see this game revisited and added, like, bolt on some extra hours and build out this world a little bit more and play with this alternate 1886 London and that whole steampunk thing that really tickles the pickle. I think I've said that 3 times this episode. I need more catchphrases, but it's really great. So I'm going to say the Order 1886. It's been out for 7 years now. There's been a lot of fans out there. There's a lot of devout super fans of the Order.
Yeah, there are. And
they've been hankering for a sequel. But let's just remake the first one and build that world out again. So get ready at dawn back into it, Sony, and make this a PlayStation 5 exclusive for the coming years. So the Order 1886 would be my remake I would like to see done, even though it was only on previous gen hardware. Yeah. I think seeing it redone with a better coat of paint and also a bit more of an expansion on that story would be great.
I think that's fair. Like like you said, the fan base, there is a fan base there. They're pretty passionate and always like stand by that game of being like one of their favorites, or being having the legs for the potential of being a great franchise essentially. But
yeah, so that was our first shoot from the hip. We'll see what questions come our way, not only from Jono, but our dear listeners. Be sure to, if you want to email them through hello@8bit.net or jono@8bit.net, or if you want to message Jono directly, at Jono himself on the socials, because we don't want to vet any of these beforehand. We want to go in blind and give you those shoot from the hip honest answers. So that's the first shoot from the hip done. Let's move into this.
This week's news headlines.
The first bit of news, Dead Island 2 has hit yet another roadblock, albeit a comparatively small one in the grand scheme of things. The game will now release on the 28th of April, a 12-week delay from what was most recently announced. In a statement, the developer said, "The shift in the release will give the team the extra time needed to provide a game everyone involved is, in quotes, proud to launch." The developer noted the irony of delaying Dead Island 2 was not lost on it, stating the decision is disappointing for both the team and those looking forward to playing the game. For those of you who have been waiting for years, thank you for hanging in there with us. The statement closed with the announcement, a Dead Island 2 showcase, which will include a new trailer and gameplay, will also be airing on the 6th of December. So this makes me chuckle. Obviously, this game has been to be rumored in development for years and years and years, and it was made official this year, and then they committed to a date. And it's like, if you're waiting this long to announce it, and then you announce it, and then you commit to a date, and then a month or so later you shift that date, why did you announce that date in the first place? Like, why didn't you just say 2023? Like, I know you'll probably want that date to hype things up, but just feels very weird from a marketing standpoint for them to make that decision and then pivot so late into the piece. But 12-week delay is not a deal breaker by any means.
Huge.
But it's just weird to me. I don't know, like the decisions going on behind closed doors as far as here's the date, shit, we're not going to make that date, let's roll it back. Even though this thing's been cooking allegedly for years to no one's confirmation, and then they do it and then move it anyway. Just, I don't know. But it's a shame, but I'm still keen for Dead Island 2 in April.
Well, I always wonder with these, like, because obviously I don't know the full ins and outs of developing a game. I'm never going to pretend like I know. I'm always curious if, like, certain decisions on dates and releases, if any of them ever take in consideration what is also being released within their release window, either week of, week before, week after kind of thing. So, I worry about a title like Dead Island, and how they can kind of probably fall under the radar of like a lot of people and not get that mainstream grasp, especially if you don't have anything particularly wowing to grab people on. Like, you kind of need that viral hit of like, oh wow, like you should see what this game does that's completely different that you need to experience, and then it kind of goes viral and the hype kind of, extends on and they get more of a player base. But I worry that Dead Island's going to get like a Dying Light experience. Dying Light was, it felt like it was being made for quite some time, and then it was announced, and then it was pushed back, and then they also started doing showcases to, I guess, maintain
so many showcases too. My God,
maintain the level of hype for the game. So, and I don't think I know anyone that's played it. So, I guess
I know a couple,
but
not many.
I guess Dead Island might also really, really depend on a fan base that has just been anxiously waiting and want to hype it up. So
yeah, like I'm excited to play the game, and I'll reserve too much judgment until this showcase on the 6/7th of December here for us in the AU to see the new trailer, but also see some gameplay. That'll be nice because we haven't seen any, like a ton of gameplay for Dead Island 2 since the announcement a couple of months back. So I'm hyped for it. It's just, it feels very sort of messily announced and then managed from a PR and a publisher perspective, where, yeah, this game was bubbling along for years in the background getting made. They committed to a date, they've shifted, and like, I'm big on shifting a date so something can come out fully realized, complete, as polished as possible. That's awesome. But yeah, let's see if come next year they move the date again. I don't know.
That's the thing.
So hold my breath until then. But yeah, the 28th of April is now the new release date for the first-person zombie kill fest known as Dead Island 2. Circling way back to when we mentioned Apple TV Plus earlier in this episode, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate users can now get 3 months worth of free access to Apple TV Plus and Apple Music through the service's perks program. Users who wish to make the most of this offer can claim the perk anytime between now and the 31st of March. This can be done via Xbox consoles or the Xbox app on Windows. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's money for nothing. You're getting some value to a service you're already paying for. And the fact you're getting 3 months worth of Apple TV is fantastic. There's so much good content on Apple TV. It needs to get more attention. Like, I think a lot of people I know are fans of Apple TV just due to them having, or Apple TV Plus due to having an Apple TV. But unless they have that, you don't know too many people that maybe have the subscription to that service as commonly as, say, a Netflix. Like, there is a lot of Ted Lasso super fans that seek out Apple TV Plus, obviously, but there's so much good stuff on there. And now you get 3 months included in your Game Pass Ultimate. Looking at the finer details of this as well, you need to be a new Apple TV Plus subscriber. You can't be existing and then bolt your 3 months on.
Yeah.
So anyone that hasn't used that service up until now, you're good to go. But sadly, for people like ourselves, Miss Hart, we don't get the 3 months. But the gesture's nice for new adopters of Apple TV Plus.
Of course. And this would be a good time too, because we are entering the holiday month. So depending obviously which industry you work in, you're going to have a lot of downtime to kind of check out content. So sign up sooner than later, and you have like a few weeks in the months to digest some Apple content. I'm an Apple Music user and I love it. I really, really enjoy Apple Music. So having that as well is you can dive into it, see if you like it, and then obviously it's ad free. I've never used Spotify, so I've never had the issue with ads kind of popping up. So
all I use is Spotify, but I have the paid service of Spotify, so no ads up in here. But as an Apple super fan these days, I guess maybe Apple Music is something I need to look at migrating to in the future. But for now, I'll just keep paying whatever bloated subscription fee is that Spotify charged me every month. But Xbox Game Pass Ultimate users, get those 3 months worth of Apple TV Plus and Apple Music right now, because it's free money.
Free money.
Why aren't you using it? Free money. All right, the next bit of news. Until Dawn and the Quarry developer, Supermassive Games, is currently developing another Dark Pictures anthology game, this time set in space. As reported by Eurogamer, a trailer for the new game appeared at the end of the Dark Pictures The Devil in Me. The game is called Directive 8020 and will act as the Season 2 premiere of the Dark Pictures anthology after The Devil in Me wrapped up Season 1. The minute-long trailer shows what appears to be a space station from well into the future as a narrator comments that it's looking for humanity's new home. So, this got me very excited seeing this trailer at the end of my playthrough of The Devil in Me. It took me from a very low point after The Devil in Me to a high point, because I love me some science fiction. I love me some space. I love that we're getting
space is scary.
Far, far away. Yeah, space is scary. It's, no one can hear you scream out there, as evidenced by Alien and Aliens.
It's the flavor of the year right now in gaming, so...
Mm-hmm. Yep, so it's very on trend. It's very on brand. Supermassive.
New zombies.
Got their finger on the internet pulse.
Yep.
And I'm keen for this because it gets very far away from the supernatural, or maybe there is some supernatural elements in this to come later. I don't know.
Coast to coast.
Space ghosts. The best kind of ghosts, space ghosts. But I'm keen for Directive 8020. What about you, Miss Hart? You watched the trailer? You in?
I haven't actually watched the trailer, but I feel like it could be an interesting angle. Like we've seen all the different directions that Supermassive have done with these like horror tropes. So, as we mentioned, space is scary at the moment, so they're going to kind of dip their toe in there and see what they can do. I'm only going to wish that we could kind of like cut to when you finished the previous game from Supermassive that kind of showed the trailer to The Devil in Me, because I'm almost certain that you had the same reaction where you said, "I'm so excited for this one." Mm-hmm. So
yeah, okay. Fool me once, Supermassive. Shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So yeah. The eternal optimist in me goes, Directive 8020, let's go. Win back some love and faith from me after The Devil in Me being a bit of a more miss than hit experience. But space, it's scary, it's great, it's the flavor of the month. And if there's space ghosts, sign me up twice. Let's go.
Yeah, well, time will tell, I guess, especially after us talking about how mainline games are what they do best and not the anthology. Yeah. So let's start with a clean slate.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool that we've got a Season 2 on the way. So we've got, I'm assuming, at least another 4 games for Season 2 that are planned on their slate, and we'll see what happens. So, Directive 8020 coming soon to the Dark Pictures Anthology, Season 2, Episode 1. Get excited. All right, the next bit of news. Streets of Rage is coming to the silver screen. Lionsgate has acquired the motion picture rights for the Sega game, opening the door for a film adaptation of the popular franchise. Derek Kolstad, who had previously written John Wick and all of its sequels, will write and produce the adaptation. What a bizarre piece of news this is. Like, Streets of Rage, it's a great franchise. We've got a lot of fandom and love for that franchise here between us.
Growing up with it.
But to see it realized and become a film is bizarre to me, especially in the 2020s, maybe like the 90s and early 2000s. I could see this becoming more of a thing. But nowadays...
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of like weird nerves that they're probably going to hit, especially that the main characters are kind of like ex-cops, and they're going to be going out there and beating people up in the streets. However, I don't know what made me think of it, because I guess it's the kind of vibe of Streets of Rage that we grew up with. I kind of thought, I'm like, this could work if we kind of went down the Kung Fury route, like kind of design. And because obviously like he wrote John Wick, so it doesn't necessarily mean he had much on the overall aesthetic, but you know, if we kind of went down this like Kung Fury vibe and went to this like larger than life kind of universe, it could work. It could be something quite special, but you know, people don't like taking those crazy risks sometimes because people just want what they're used to.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this translates to 2023 or whenever this movie comes out, 2025. But like, yeah, Derek Kolstad, like, he's a hell of a action writer, that's for sure. Like you said, I don't know how much he had to do with the stylization of John Wick, but if he had even just a sliver of responsibility regarding the art direction or the way it's shot or the choreographed fight scenes, then we could be in for a treat with Streets of Rage, because it is stunning. The trailer doing the rounds for John Wick 4 at the moment, holy moly, that universe is just art on screen. Like, it's so pretty, and just the way it plays with light and neon and all this, like, it's gorgeous, and I can't wait to see John Wick 4 through to 27. I don't care if they make these until Keanu dies, like, I'm all
beyond.
for it. And beyond, yeah, Keanu ghosts.
Yeah, Keanu would be the actor to say like, yeah, just use my just holograph me.
Yeah,
cool.
Here's my essence. Yeah. Just do with it what you will.
And there you go, ladies and gentlemen, your Hungry Games impersonation of Keanu Reeves.
Sad Keanu essence, just feeding birds in the park eternally. Yeah. But Derek Kolstad, let's see what you're going to do here with Streets of Rage.
Make it good.
Very interesting. It's certainly the last, not the last, but wasn't one of the first IPs that came to mind when I'd hear that Hollywood are adapting yet another video game. That's for sure.
Yeah, no. But it also makes sense at the same time. It's kind of,
it does.
I hate to say it like this, but it's kind of easy.
Yeah. And everyone loves a good action film.
Of course.
You know, it's the definitive sort of popcorn genre. You just go in there, you eat your snacks, you eat your churros, you eat your chicken kebab if you're feeling that way.
Donut. It's the donut.
Oh my God, yum! I need to hunt down some churros today. The next bit of news, I've titled this one, "Gotta Go Fast, or the Law Might Catch You." Hey. We've got some words here from Eurogamer. So, Yuji Naka, known as the father of Sonic the Hedgehog, has reportedly been arrested in Japan on suspicion of insider trading. The news was reported overnight by Japanese newspaper Mainichi, and comes a day after two other men were reported to have been charged with insider trading connected to Final Fantasy publisher Square Enix. So Naka, who's 57, is accused of purchasing shares worth 2.8 million yen, around 17,000 euros, or roughly just under 30,000 Australian dollars, in aiming a Japanese developer which Square Enix partnered with to make a Dragon Quest mobile game before the company's involvement was public knowledge. Yuji Naka worked with Square Enix on the platformer Balan Wonderland, which launched to a lackluster response. Naka worked with Square Enix around the same period, from the autumn of 2019 until around the time of Balan Wonderland's underwhelming launch in 2021. In April of this year as well, Naka revealed he had sued Square Enix over his exit from the company and accused the publisher of releasing the game unfinished. So, It's been a whirlwind 12 months for old Yuji Naka,
Yeah.
the godfather of Sonic the Hedgehog, has been doing all kinds of dirties.
The father.
Trying to sue Square, and also, just doing some insider trading by buying some shares before, I guess, the stock shot with aiming going up after partnering on the Dragon Quest mobile game. So, holy moly, it's Yuji's in some trouble.
Yeah, like I remember us reporting his story about suing in relation to the game Balan's World not being finished.
Balan Wonderland?
Yeah, oh, sorry, yeah, Balan Wonderland not being not being finished, and that like he felt that he was pushed and pressed to kind of like just be removed from something that he was building. And I can't remember how compassionate we were to that story. So now it's interesting that now we've got this like shoe on the other foot that is now being done in for insider trading. It's wild. It's a very wild story that kind of came out this week. But yeah, I think is it open and shut? Like is he going to jail?
I think like if they can legitimately connect the dots that $30,000 $1,000 worth of investment he did buying shares in aiming happened off the back of him obtaining information that they were going to be partnering with Square. Yeah, I think it's fairly open and shut. Like, I think if they can go, yep, you were made aware of this pending purchase, you bought the shares a week before the purchase was made official and public, you're in some trouble here, Yuji. So it's he could be doing a bit of jail time on the back of this.
Yeah, I mean it's not looking good for him too. Like I'm obviously based on like the time periods between him leaving, him being a part of Square Enix, and then being out, and then also making the purchase. I'm sure it's going to be pretty much pretty clear what happens. So I guess that's what happens when you really start kicking up a stink. Sometimes you really put a spotlight on yourself.
Exactly. So I wonder how much of him trying to sue Square put a little bit of a spotlight, as you just said, on himself and made them do a little bit more digging. And it's just crazy that he's involved in this piece, and there was 2 other former Square employees involved in some insider trading tied into some Final Fantasy related stuff as well. So it's sketchy. But makes for some good discussion, and something that makes for some other good discussion. This past week, we got the full Game of the Year Awards 2022 nominations making their way to the internet and the social medias and what have you. And there was some divisive titles making their way into some categories, or some that did not. If we're sort of looking at it and just looking at it from sort of the top down, the best debut indie game, we saw things like Neon White, Norco, Stray, Tunic, and Vampire Survivors in there. The best indie game, Cult of the Lamb, Neon White again, Sifu, Stray, and Tunic was there. Best performance, Ashley Birch, Charlotte McBurney, Christopher Judge, Manon Gage, and Sunny Suljic. Best score / music, we got Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War, Ragnarok, Metal Hellsinger. And best art direction, Elden Ring, God of War, Horizon, Scorn, Stray. So you're seeing, like, I'm not going to go through all we've only got a couple more main ones here that we'll cover off, because there is a few more that we didn't highlight here. Best narrative, Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War, Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, and Immortality. Best game direction, Elden Ring, God of War, Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Immortality, and Stray. And then Game of the Year nominees, A Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So you're hearing a lot of same titles bled across a lot of those categories. And then there's a ton more other categories that we haven't sort of included here. So you can see the full list. Just search Game Awards 2022 nominations and they'll pop up every which way. But Miss Hart, anything there that sort of stands out to you in a good or a bad way, or something that's surprising that you didn't expect to get nominated in a certain category?
Stray. Like, I didn't play it, so I don't actually have any basis of to say why or why not. I'm just genuinely surprised that not only has it been pretty prominent in the nominations, but it's there in Game of the Year. So that shocked me quite a bit. But like I said, I haven't played it. I don't have any any attachment to the game to actually make a stand on why it does or does not deserve to be there. I was just surprised by it. I saw a lot of silly thoughts about why Scorn was in Best Art Direction, 100% Scorn belongs to be in Best Art Direction. It is, I
Completely
feel
agree.
like, a well thought out, like artistic concept that was executed amazingly. And like a lot of the opinions that people said was like, oh no, the game is ugly, the game is disgusting. How can you put Scorn up against a game so stunning as Horizon and God of War? And I don't understand where this concept of where art direction had to be pretty. Like art is a concept and it's broad, and I feel like a game like Scorn, with its design and execution, they knew exactly what they were doing with it, and they executed on it perfectly because the game wanted to make you feel uncomfortable, unsettled, and disgusted, and so they did a great job. So 100% Scorn belongs in Best Art Direction, and I'm glad that they've gotten a nomination in there. Also, as well as Immortality getting a few nominations in there as well. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm very happy to see a lot of my personal favorite games and you know our shared favorite games here getting some love across these noms. I completely agree with you with Scorn. Like, yeah, art is it's personal and it varies from person to person as far as what they deem good or bad. So the fact that it is so unique compared to the other nominees in that category is awesome, and I love that it got a bit of love. I completely agree. I would not have Stray. I played Stray. I finished it. It's fine. I enjoyed it. The art style is actually really pretty. That sort of post-apocalyptic cyberpunk neon that they sort of straddle the line with is awesome. But I'd put Cult of the Lamb up in the game of the year, potentially. Or Immortality is sort of where I'm at as far as my gut check with what I think should be in there or shouldn't. But yeah, Stray getting in there, a little bit of an eyebrow raiser for me personally. The other games do not surprise me at all. I haven't played Xenoblade Chronicles 3, so I can't really form an opinion on that one. I've heard it's good, but you know, I haven't touched it personally yet. But yeah, I like that. I feel a lot of our opinions are in lockstep with the broader games media that put their nominations in for this. Like Best Narrative, the 5 games in Best Narrative are the 5 games that I'd put in Best Narrative, like A Plague Tale, Elden Ring, God of War, Horizon, and Immortality. Yeah, I'd put those 5 in there. No hesitation. But I'm very curious to see how some of these awards ultimately get distributed. Who wins these awards, Miss Hart? I'm very curious. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling God of War Ragnarok's going to win Game of the Year this year, just based off my impressions and feelings and just general mood of that game. But I wouldn't be sad if Elden Ring got it, or Horizon, or Plague Tale, because I adored all 4 of those games collectively.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Elden Ring's gonna get it. It's been this thing that we've kind of discussed throughout the year, saying how Elden Ring obviously came out at the start of the year, and I feel like, especially when it comes to the time of Game Awards, the most recent released, blockbuster at time closer to the nominations usually gets the hype. So but I feel like Elden Ring still stands on its own feet. It's still prominent, it's still relevant, and it's still widely loved. I just think it should deserve Game of the Year because it was a game that I would have never, ever touched, and it excelled and did so brilliantly amongst the gaming space that I did try and experienced it and had a good time playing it. I obviously had a difficult time, but I think when you kind of get over those hurdles and introduce a bunch of gamers into a new space that they're not familiar with, and get a new fan base and just have such a great reach and just positive opinions. I think there's been a lot of positivity around the game as well. I think it just deserves Game of the Year.
That's fair. If I see Elden Ring win it, I'm not going to be like, this is bullshit, this is stupid. It's completely deserving for all those reasons you just mentioned. My biggest gripe with these awards, or award ceremonies in general, have these award ceremonies in January and just have the calendar from the previous year as the timeline where games can be nominated, because it's weird to me that something like God of War Ragnarok, which came out a week-ish ago now, is nominated, but then something like Callisto Protocol or Pokemon can't be nominated because they missed the cutoff. It's a week late. Go January 1 to December 31. That's your release window. And then run the awards in January or February of the next year. Like, it's so dumb to me that you have Game of the Year awards for a year that's not yet finished. I don't understand that.
It also makes me wonder, like, because they obviously have a committee that puts together these nominations. So they would have had to have had a committee that would have had to have played God of War to its full extent to have obviously put this forward as a nomination. So I'm very curious about that. I'm very curious how that got through because it's only been out for like a week, even.
Yeah, I genuinely wonder if some of these media outlets have just said, you know what, God of War Ragnarok is going to be great. It's on my nomination list. Like, it's on my ballot. Like, so yeah, Jeff, realign your timelines here and go January 1, December 31. That way it cuts out all the bullshit, all this hypothesizing that we're doing now, and it gets the games that actually come out in that year all viable for awards.
Exactly. I stand with you 100% on that.
I just don't get it.
Me
I don't get
either.
it. And I know we do the biddies in December, but we sort of do them later in the year. Like we got like another month's worth of grace period yet before that we record this, so we can get just about all the big games that are coming out in that calendar period. Like, it's still not perfect. I know I'm probably sounding hypocritical right now because we're doing our awards in December, but we have a little bit more bleed through as far as getting those awards and all the games being nominated to be viable to win.
Also, the hungry gamers need a break, so we try to fit everything in at that arse end of December, right, guys?
It's busy, yeah. Often our 3 biggest episodes are back to back to back.
Yeah.
In December with the biddies, our favorite things, and Festivus all happening.
If you don't like it, tell us at Festivus.
Yeah, that's true. I need to actually check the episode notes of this, listeners. There'll be a link in there to get your grievances aired and heard. So
No,
I just
not now.
realized I
It's
haven't
fresh
set
in
that
their
up.
minds.
You guys whinging about it, award ceremony dates
You
and bleed
bloody
through.
hypocrites.
All right, we'll quickly jump over to this.
Tweet of the week.
And this tweet comes via a way of at TFIL Ryan, aka The Floor is Lava. And the tweet reads, keeping with the Mario 3 theme, I made some music to accompany this story at Pettycom with Jared told Tim Geddes on a legendary Kinda Funny Games cast. Hashtag Super Mario Bros. 3. So this is a very adorable, heartwarming, beautiful story where Jared is sharing this story with Tim about how his dad took him out of school one day to go on by and play Super Mario Bros. 3 all day together. It's a video/audio clip that runs for about a minute and a half,
not
but
long.
it's just beautiful and it warms the heart and it really just re-emphasizes why some of us play video games.
So watching this little clip and just hearing the music that Ryan, The Floor is Lava, created in the background, a very ambient kind of sound, and you hear Jared just talking about it, like this day that like he remembers from his youth and just how much it meant to him, and you know, that connection of like family and youth and video games and just nostalgia, and it I think it hits a lot of us, like experiences that we maybe had, like a day where we got to stay home and maybe play a video game. Like, I feel like nowadays it's pretty common for kids just to call in sick because God of War came out, you know, like.
And adults.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we're old enough we can do it
Allegedly.
now. We're making up for that lost
coming to
time.
work.
But just those really special moments from like childhood with these games that we grew up with, and just like these little moments. For me, like I always kind of remember staying at my grandmother's house with my older brother, and the thing that we would always do is we'd try to wake up early and set up the Mega Drive, and we'd raid the Milo jar and set up Sonic 2 and play Lose a Life, even though my brother was really good at the game, so I never technically got to play. But it's always this like nice warm memory that I always like to think about growing up, and how video games and family and nostalgia just kind of like, you know, just brings a nice smile to my face. So I just think it's a really cool little thing that people might want to experience and see.
That's it. It's one of the most wholesome tweets doing the rounds on the internet at the moment before Twitter potentially explodes
true.
or whatever occurs in the coming days with Elon and his decision-making process. But it's funny because, Super Mario Brothers 3 is one of those first main touchstones for me for gaming as well. Like my uncle and I, similar scenario with you and your brother you were saying there, where we'd play together, but luckily with Mario Bros 3, you could have Mario and Luigi. So he played as Mario and I played as Luigi, and we worked our way through all 8 of those worlds over a series of weeks where I'd go over and stay at my grandma's house and play with him there, or he'd come stay at our place, and we'd, be up all night playing till ungodly hours, working our way through it. So it's nice to have those little moments to just pause and reflect on, what gaming means to us and those simpler times.
Exactly.
But if you don't want to sort of reflect on the past and things like Super Mario Bros. 3 and instead talk about what's coming out or what you can do that's new, don't worry, we got you covered.
New releases and events.
So we're talking about releases between November 21 through to the 28th of November. As far as podcasts, we've got our God of War Ragnarok spoiler cast dropping this week. A nice hearty deep dive with Atreus and Kratos and co. So check that out on the Hungry Gamers RSS feed this week. On the small screen, the Walking Dead series finale airs this week. So the show that we thought could not be killed is finally getting put to pasture forever. Obviously, there's 1,000 spin-offs in existence and in development still, but the mainline Walking Dead series finale airs this coming week. We've also got Wednesday, obviously the Addams Family show making its way to Netflix this week, and Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special dropping on Disney+. As far as the big screen, ton of movies coming out this week of note. The Menu, see Glass Onion, the sequel to Knives Out, which will be great. Seriously Red, which is a Dolly Parton film.
Really?
About where it's set today and there's like a Dolly Parton impersonator and it sort of ties into her life and whatever. It looks kind of kooky and kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And they've also got Strange World, Pinocchio, so that's the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio version, and also Bones and All, but I cannot wait to watch Glass Onion, and the Menu looks fantastic.
I want to see the Menu. I just actually had a brief interaction with Joey Noelle from Kind of Funny, and she actually said that she watched it and she said she had such a fun experience at the cinema, which based on what the trailer was kind of portraying, I'm like, oh snap, it's doing that. So I am now like really looking forward to seeing the Menu and seeing what is exactly happening in that story.
It looks so great. I'm all for it. And then games coming out this week. We've got Evil West dropping on all platforms, which I am very excited to play. Gungrave Gore or Gungrave.o.r.e coming out as well. Just Dance 2023, the annual money earner there from Ubisoft, and Ship of Fools coming out as well this week. So four very diverse and unique titles, but Evil West I'm very excited to sink my teeth into this week when I find some time.
Yeah, I'm probably still gonna keep playing. Like I also playing Overwatch. I think I might try Warzone. Yeah,
well, it's free.
It's free.
Warzone 2.0 is out.
I don't lose out on it, so why not? And then you watch just one match in, I'll be like, nope. I remember why.
Start your download now so it'll be finished by tomorrow, because it is a big game. I think it's like 120 gigs or something.
It
obnoxious like that.
Surprise me. I'm sure that it has like you got to install like a little valve and you just got to cut like a little bit of blood and just drop that in there too. Yeah. That's
it. Yeah. It takes everything from you it can. So, but its release has been a little up and down, round and round as far as server stability issues. And that's to be expected with any new live game. But I'll probably wait a few more weeks yet and then maybe jump in for a few games of Warzone 2.0 and then probably do the same thing where I'm like, nope, I'm out.
I remember.
Yeah. Something else, well, I don't remember, but we discovered this week, completely unrelated but loosely related because you mentioned Overwatch 2. Played a bit of Overwatch this week. Jumped into some lobbies. We had a nice full stack, but I've realized irrespective, it is pretty nice. Irrespective of if there's more console players to PC in that 5 stack, it'll automatically revert you to the PC lobbies.
Of course.
But then like Benny and I played a few games just together. We're both on Xbox. Going from those PC lobbies to Xbox it's like going from university to kindergarten. Like, we were stomping fools left, right, and center on in the console lobbies. Then you go to PC, and obviously the difficulty, it evolves substantially.
You gotta make it work when you're on PC. My husband doesn't play with me because I'm on PC. He doesn't want to play against PC people, so
it's tough.
It's tough out there, especially rolling solo on PC. But you know what? I'm happy to report that I'm consistently getting endorsements. I'm like a level.
Hell yeah!
I'm in level 3 still, but like it's consistent in most matches, regardless whether I'm.
Nicely done.
Well, I'm only tank and support. I'm hardly ever getting DPS, and you know what? That's fine. That's okay.
Who are you maining these days?
So I'm actually like support wise, like I'm just always like Lucio. Lucio always seems like the right choice, especially when everyone's kind of playing these support characters that are usually more like have that attack ability. Like, so I'm like, well, someone's got to keep pushing the health consistently. So I'm usually playing Lucio on that, and yeah, I'm still Zarya as your tank. I'm really like perfecting her.
She's a beast. She's so hard to take down.
She can be, but I think I enjoy playing as her because not only am I effective with doing damage and like getting amongst it, but I like that I can like see my healer getting attacked and I can throw that bubble over them and just really screw over the other team and protect my healer and stuff. So also people protect a healer. I mean, come on.
Yeah, a little health pool of like 200 goes down very quickly.
Exactly. And then you're going to die anyway because you're sitting there by yourself. You got no one healing you. So,
yeah, I just can't stop playing as Moira. I love her.
Oh,
she's
one
so
of
fun to play. Yeah, she's great. I love that I a lot of the time do more damage than at least one of the DPS and also do a good chunk of healing as well. So it feels great.
I've got to show you a screenshot of one of my Lucio games where I did like high healing but also high damage and then also high mitigation. Yeah, so
nicely done. Well, when you roll out, ping me. I'll jump into the PC cesspool with you. I don't mind.
Yeah,
because it helps hone the skills. It makes me play better anyway.
There you go. That's the way to look at it. Get beaten to death in PC lobbies and then go be a god in consoles.
Exactly. But 8-Bit Nation, that brings us to the end of THG 308. Thanks as always for stopping on by. Be sure to rate, review, subscribe us and all the other podcasts to listen to on the regular. It helps keep the emotional lights on in our hearts, helps keep us tracking, helps keep us relevant. But yeah, obviously videogamesandculture.com/awards. Get those noms in for the biddies, and I'll put a link on there as well for Festivus so we can start getting those grievances tabled and ready for recording in December. Miss Hart, anything else you want to shout out before we get on out of here for another week?
Yeah, just before you're looking at Festivus, we love you.
We really do. We really, really do. So much love. Big love. But 8-Bit Nation, that's us for now. Until next time, on that love front, much love.
And stay hungry.
You've been listening to The Hungry Gamers, one of many gaming and geek culture related podcasts from the 8-Bit Collective over on 8bit.net. Check out more episodes on your podcast service of choice. And while you're there, please be sure to rate and subscribe. Until next time, boys and girls, stay hungry.